her future plans for the Heritage Savings Trust Fund, currently sitting around, I think, $22 billion. She wants to increase it to as much as $450 billion by the year 2050. It's the same year that Alberta will hopefully be, a net zero province. It's all reliant on energy revenues, oil prices, and all that sort of stuff. But you look at some countries in the world. I mean, they're living off their versions of Heritage Savings Trust Fund, like Norway and stuff like that. Just billions and billions of dollars in interest and profits coming in every year helps fund their economy. And Smith wants to do the same thing here. I think it's obviously a legacy project for her, Nigel.
Well, not only is it a legacy project, but it's also a life dream. I mean, back 20 years ago on the editorial board at the Calgary Herald, that was talked of a lot, how we really needed to grab hold of the Heritage Fund and make something of it. And it was just a crying shame. What they were doing back in those days was they weren't letting it grow. Every year, the provincial government would scoop the interest off and feed it into general revenue. And so it sat there at $14 billion, $14 billion, $14 billion. And, if that had been allowed to grow, it would be a heck of a lot more than $22 billion today. So, I think it's incredible. First of all, I mean, I just hope she stays the course on this, because that's always the problem. In the past, people have always said, oh, yeah, got to build the Heritage Fund up, and then done just the complete opposite, ripped it off. So, I wish her well, and if it takes her being in office until 2050 to see it through, then there's the first problem.
Yeah, well, and if there is a pile of money, there's going to be somebody who wants to get their hands on it. This helps get it out of the reach. I've noticed, well, it's nothing unusual. The budget's about a week away for the formal budget to come out. And already I've been watching the press releases. The nurses want more funding. The teachers want more funding. The cities want more funding. The police want more. You name it. Everybody wants more funding. Premier Smith said she's not cutting anything, but she's ensuring, though, that any extra dollars are going into savings. Sorry, guys, but we're going to take that out before it even gets gobbled up. I think it's an interesting tactic.
One of the things, though, that people watching this need to understand is how much interest we are paying on the debt that we have at the moment, which is in the order of $70 billion. Like $3 billion a year is coming out of our pockets and going to the people who hold the debt. I mean, we're glad they were prepared to lend it in the first place, but nevertheless, if you can get rid of that debt, then you save that money. And this is the crying shame. Since in 2010, Alberta was debt-free. Since then, we have received something like $140 billion in resource revenues. And yet, in that same period of time, we have paid $21.5 billion in interest charges. All that money coming in. And yet we still ended up having to borrow some. It's actually almost criminal.
It is bad management. I mean, that could have been capital investments in all sorts of things. The things people are complaining about today that we're lacking. We could have the hospitals. We could have the overpasses, the schools. $21 billion could go a long way.
Oh, that's right. But it was always, give us more now, give us more now. And I guess politicians who wanted to get elected weren't able to make the case that it was better to provide for the future.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's a drop in the bucket compared to the interest charges the Trudeau government is paying on their massive debt, just tens of billions.
You mean that we Canadian citizens are paying?
Yes, absolutely,
yes, okay.
Absolutely. But it is all predicated on oil prices, as I said. If they go in the tank, then it's going to be very difficult budgeting, and some very difficult decisions have to be made. But as Nigel says, it's time to make them and get them done.
Yeah, well, there's almost a bit of an admission. Oil and gas is still a finite resource. I mean, there's a lot of debate about how long. It seems we've got a federal government that just wants to bring it to an end as soon as possible. I think a lot of other people saying, well, we've got it. Let's utilize it while we have it. But both can agree at one point or another, it will be gone.
Yes.
Yeah.
And having something socked away for when that time comes is a smart strategy.
What did Trudeau call? What did Smith call Trudeau today in her address? A delusional enemy,
ideologue or something.
A delusional enemy or something like that.
Yeah.